things don't look so good as far as Sheryl Swoopes is concerned and her feelings towards Caitlin Clark. She wasn't on the broadcast when Caitlin Clark was in the game, when the Fever were playing the Wings. She didn't make a sound, not a peep from her, when they were praising Caitlin Clark on the broadcast just a few days prior. And then you hear Nancy Lieberman go on the Stephen A. Smith show after Stephen A. Smith says, hey, you know, it's kind of obvious Swoopes wasn't on the broadcast because of Caitlin Clark and how well she's been doing. And then Lieberman won't confirm it, but she goes on to say, you got to get the stats right. And I basically don't have a relationship with Swoopes now at this point in time. So, Dan, Mr. Investigator, what do you think is actually going on?
Well, I think a number of things. One, I love how Caitlin Clark just stays above and outside the fray. You know, I've said this forever, whether it's the reporter from, you know, Greg Doyle from Indy Star being a creep to start the season, or people during the course of the year, and now, you know, the OGs of the league, everybody loses their mind, and she just keeps on balling. That's the first thing. Second thing, all right, the not saying anything on the previous, my former coach Bob Knight did that to me. Brett Musburg, I was watching the game, said, hey, Bobby, I'm working with your former captain, Dan Dockage, tomorrow, and Knight didn't say a word. So that tells me that
why?
what Swoopes did, obviously. No, we didn't like each other. No.
Knight?
Yeah, big beef. Big beef over the last we had big beef. I think the last time I spoke with him, it didn't go well for both of us, probably. Yeah, but so when I saw that thing on Swoopes, I'm like, oh man, that's probably what she did. And then you got to understand something. Sheryl Swoopes was fired as a college basketball coach at Loyola for being incredibly ridiculous and abusive. And it's hard for an African-American woman to get fired from an institution as a coach these days. Very hard, and particularly for something other than just wins and losses. And so there is a background there of her being nasty. And there's no doubt, based on what she said earlier, the misinformation, I'll say, that she gave out, that there's something there. And what's there, I don't know. But I will say this, there's no doubt in my mind also that whoever was running that broadcast took her off. They didn't need anything other than somebody to call the game. They didn't need somebody that was going to be nasty to the biggest star in the game. They didn't need somebody that was going to be difficult. And I guarantee you, this is just my experience. If you're difficult in other areas of your life, you're probably difficult as a broadcaster. And it all makes sense to me. I wouldn't want her on the broadcast either. This has become a celebration of women's basketball now that we've gotten through the stupidity of the Olympics, and Caitlin Clark is at the center of it. And I don't need Sheryl Swoopes' negativity. The WNBA doesn't need it. Television network doesn't need it. And frankly, if you have an all-time legend and a very good broadcaster to replace her, Nancy Lieberman, then you just do it. It's simple, but it's sad for, you know, I said this way back on my show and other shows. My wife taught me this. Women in sports do not want other women in sports to succeed. And certainly we've seen it with Caitlin Clark, and we continue to.